You're listening to Superpowers of the Soul on the Superpower Up Podcast, the show that elevates superpowers to the divine.
Hello, everyone, and welcome. I'm Jennifer Urezzio, superpower expert and founder of Soul Language, and this is Superpowers of the Soul. And today I'm with Jen Stringer, and we are talking, the topic is called Consciously Raw. Welcome, Jan.
Hi, thank you.
Hi, I'm so excited to be here. I've followed you for years, so this is very exciting. I know I spoke to you several years ago for something else, but I'm so excited that you're here, so welcome.
Thank you. It's wonderful to be here and nice to be with you again.
Yay. So the first question is, what is the superpower of your soul?
Well, I loved when you had emailed me about what do you think about consciously raw as a topic, because I had sent out an email to my audience of wonderful people talking about how being raw is not a bad thing. And for me, I just went through, as you know, a real life-altering event. My business partner and love of my life, my husband, passed away suddenly last year. And it called upon me to really reach inside of my soul to see what am I all about. And I realized that a lot of who I was wrapped up in that relationship. And so I think the superpower of my soul is that I had done the work of who I am as an individual, along with, who I was in the couple relationship. And so when the relationship changed and I became me on my own 2 feet again, I wasn't completely knocked off my center. I was completely shocked, of course, but at the same time, I knew I had that superpower inside of me that I could draw on. And that's really what I call the superpower of my soul is knowing who I am and being able to call on that, especially in those kind of situations where you really need to just draw on that inner strength.
And I think that's important for, I would recommend that be a superpower for everyone's soul, right? That deep sense of connection and self that allows you to go, okay, there's a big challenge here. And yet, whoa, that challenge doesn't impact who I know I am on a core level. I think that's hugely important and very profound. What do you consider your sacred purpose, the reason why you're here?
Well, my business, while it is a vehicle for doing my purpose or living my purpose, let's be a better way to say it, is to really help people connect on a deep level to what I just shared. What my superpower is. That is what I like to do with other people, is to help them connect with what I call what makes them tick. And connecting it to the topic of your show today is everybody's superpower, that we all have that. And I like to help people to discover what that is and how their business is a reflection of that. So that's what my business is all about. And but even more than that, my sacred purpose is just that, to help people to discover what they're all about so that they can live more heart-centered lives and have more heart-centered businesses.
Yeah, and you bring up a really good point, Jen, and I don't think a lot of people kind of grasp this. Our sacred purpose is always first for ourselves and then for others. The other part comes from the overflow of being that sacred purpose for ourselves, because, hey, your world begins and ends with you, right? And you're the master of your own universe. And so when you really understand that sacred purpose is really first, the way you described it was beautiful, understanding who you are within, it becomes natural that you want to share with that and support others in that journey as well. So yay for you. So what has been this common theme, whether it's a supportive theme or whether it's a non-supportive theme, that, well, your soul would never share a non-supportive theme, but what has been a common theme that your soul has shared with you?
I would have to say my common theme is relationship. I remember years and years ago, way before I even thought of owning my own business, and I was having all these ups and downs around romantic relationships, mostly at that time. And a dear friend of mine who I used to seek advice from, she said, well, Jan, you're on the path of the heart, and your soul learns these lessons through these heart relationships. And so while it's not always an easy journey to be on the path of the heart, I do learn the most about life through relationship. So I have experienced so much through my business relationships, of course, my romantic relationships, and my family relationships, all of those relationships. And now, of course, I'm in the business attracting perfect customers, which is all about relationships.
Exactly.
With customers. So that's been the common theme for me, is that this go round on this earth plane, as my feet walk the path, seems to be that I'm going to learn most through the power of relationship with other people.
I love that. And that's so important, and a lot of people, have that kind of same, I call that, your area of discontent, right? That the way that you choose to be more conscious, more soulful is through the vehicle of relationships, where someone might do it through their health, or someone else might do it through money, and it's really important to understand where you do that. My 2 is relationships, so we have that in common.
Okay.
Right? And so I know, so here's another growth opportunity for me. So let's allow this to polish my diamond.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Oh, that just sparked something for me. It said polish my diamond. My spiritual mentor, she would remind me, and she'd say, don't, when I would be, what was me about a relationship to her, she would say, well, don't forget that it takes 24 cuts to make a diamond into a gemstone. I'm like,
what number am I on?
We'll have to go.
So we're going to break here, but before we break, how do people get in touch with you? How do they know more about you? How do they engage with you? And what's a good way to reach out to you?
Sure. Website's always good, perfectcustomers.com. Just go there and you can find me there.
Beautiful. Okay, everyone, stay tuned. We'll be talking about the topic Consciously Raw when we return.
Are you here to change the world? Do you talk about things like vibration, frequency, awakening, and consciousness? Are you pretty sure you have superpowers? The Superpower Net is unlike normal coaching programs and conscious communities. We provide training, intuitive guidance, peer-to-peer learning, intensive one-on-one coaching, and a high vibrational network of people just like you. When you join the net, you get 24/7 access to a collaborative group of people who support you as you master your personal power and unlock your superpowers. If you're ready to use your superpowers to change the world, then join the Superpower Net today. Visit superpowerexperts.com/the-net to learn more.
Well, you're back with Jennifer Urezzio, Superpowers of the Soul, and Jan Stringer, and the topic today is Consciously Raw. So, and I read your email and I thought, oh my God, I need to have her on the show because I get raw. Several years ago, I came out of a relationship and I was like, if there was something beyond raw, I was that. Yeah. And, there was no trying to fix it. You couldn't fix it. You actually just had to be with it and actually be comfortable with it and accept it and kind of utilize it to your advantage. So tell me what you mean by raw.
Well, that email really came from a raw experience that I had. My partner, Alan, had passed away in August of last year. And so, of course, you would expect to be raw emotionally for a while, which I was. And then I kind of moved forward a little bit. It felt like I was starting to move forward. But Thanksgiving morning, I noticed when I got up, there was a little bit of just I don't know, a little something around my heart that usually meant, a little feeling of grieving. It was my first holiday since he had passed away. And I was going to a dance class, a special dance class that I like to attend, Nia technique. And that was on Thanksgiving morning. I was driving over. I'm like, well, I'll just shake it off in the dance and dance through it, which is really one of the best ways that I found to handle my grieving was either walking or dancing. But so I drove over there and I did. I jumped in the dance. There was quite a large number of people there. But towards the end of the class, they were in a circle and they did this special exercise. It got it felt very personal and spiritual and very connected to other people. And I just had the tears start going down my face, and we're holding hands, in a circle. And so I couldn't really do anything but just let the tears go. And my nose was running, and I felt like right down the front of me, I had been cut open in the front and the back, right through the heart, like open heart surgery in a different way. And it was so raw. And there was just, I knew I was healing. And sometimes you have to, to heal is break open the wound and let it out, the pain out. And that's what I felt was happening. So it was a good thing. But as soon as I could, I scooted out of the room so I could just go cry a lot. And that's what I did. And so that email came out of that experience, that when I just allowed myself to go into that raw state of whatever you want to call it, healing, grieving, sadness, pain, it's all kind of mushed together. And the raw feeling was the sensation I felt in my chest and my body, in the front and the back of me. And allowed myself not to block it, not to stop it, just to let it go as long as it needed to go. And I think it lasted a day or maybe two. And on the other side of it, though, there was a complete revelation that life is here for me to live it. And that's when I decided, okay, I'm ready to take some real steps forward. And I started doing that Thanksgiving weekend. So it was a big, big experience. And I've had a couple more of those kind of experiences where it's kind of a jumping off point or a catapult point where I've just got to go through the consciously raw state first to get to the new state of new beginning.
And, the way I did that consciously for me was to be present and then actually in every moment decided how I want to respond consciously. So how do you go about what tips can you offer when someone's in that raw state to do it consciously?
Well, first of all, the conscious part I would say is allowing it to be there, not editing it, not resisting it, and go fully into it. And there's a tendency to want to cover it up or mask it or drink. If you're prone to that, I don't drink, but somebody might want to stay away from the pain with some substance like drinking or whatever.
Avoid it.
Coke or whatever it could be. Sugar, go eat a pound of sugar, try to get out of that. But I would just say stay with it. And if you can, just be by yourself and consciously allow your body to heal. And that's it.
Yeah, and I would recommend that with everything, not trying to hide from anything, right? Because I think, rawness occurs when something comes up that knocks you so to your knees. And it also comes up sometimes very accumulative, right? That you keep stuffing and you keep stuffing and you keep burying and you keep burying. And then, it's the straw that broke the camel's back and something happens and you're like, oh my God, I don't understand why this is impacting me so. And I think so often we run from those things that even might give us the sense of, oh my God, this is going to be painful. I've got to run from it, or I got to spiritual it away, or do spiritual bypass, or any of those things. So I think being present here is the huge message that you're sharing with individuals about why that's so important. And how did being so consciously raw have that impact? Because, as we're going through these kind of expansion situations, most of us are very strong. Most of us own businesses. Most of us have clients, right? Right. And in those certain circumstances, yes, you take some time off, but sometimes we're just unable to do that. So how, in being conscious, how did that impact your working world? I mean, you're all about relationships. So how did that impact your business?
Well, it did impact it. Fortunately, last fall, I already had a number of clients. I already had a number of programs already in the works. In other words, I wasn't starting brand new with people. And I do attract the perfect customers. They were very understanding, and they were sad too. And so I remember when I went back to my first Zoom video class right after, as soon as I could, about a month after it happened. And I thought I could do it as best as I could. And I just started crying. And I just said, I'm being as authentic as I can. And letting people grieve with you, I think, is conscious. And at least that's how I chose to play the game. And they were just there for me and very supportive. So it was a little messy in the beginning, and then I was just grateful that I had this great business that I created of these perfect customers that would allow me the space and the time and the love to go through something that was life altering, not only for me, but it impacted them as well.
Yeah, and I think that's also a testament of all of the consciousness that you did prior to that moment, right? And I think that's also a gift here for the audience about, being as conscious as you can every moment of every day, every step as you can. Some days were better than others. That it kind of sets you up for the perfect formula. I mean, I remember when I was like, I had to call this client who she's been a wonderful client for years. And I was like, look, this is what happened. And I can't support you today because I'm not even sure I can get out of bed. And she's like, how can I help you? And I was like, just by rescheduling. And she said, great, but that if you need anything, right? And it's that moment where you go, okay, like the giving and receiving circle is, this amazing 360. And you really, your relationships are so solid with clients. And I think this is a reflection of your work and what you offer people, that, you can be consciously raw and you can be consciously transparent and still be the leader of your organization. And I think that's something that we all strive for. And I think that, Jen, is an understanding about you connecting and understanding how important relationships are for you, and you doing relationships with your soul and heart. So I think that's kind of amazing.
Thank you. Yeah, I hadn't really thought about it like this so much, but you're really bringing me more consciously aware how important it is. I mean, you don't really know what, until something like this happens. It just brings you really to your knees, whether it's a health situation or a relationship breakup or a death in the family or a pet leaving, that anything can spark these really raw moments. And so, of course, it makes sense that I would create an environment of support through consciously being aware of what's important to me, and way before I knew I needed it.
Yeah.
And it's important whether you have those crisis situations going on, it's important to have people surrounding me and you and all of us because our work needs to get out there. I tell this to my people all the time, don't hide out. Don't not speak up. Don't go into your room and close the door. Cry if you need to in front of your people. Let them see that you're consciously raw, and my work is more important than any circumstance that I've got going on in my life. So that's what gives me the juice to keep going. That's what got me out of bed in the mornings, was knowing that I did have a purpose and I did have people that were waiting to hear from me.
Beautiful. So before I ask the last question, let people know how to get in touch with you.
Well, I think it's always great to go to somebody's website. You can get a flavor from mine. And I'm also very, very amenable to somebody writing me an email, which is simply jan@perfectcustomers.com. Or you can just go to my website and check in there at perfectcustomers.com.
Beautiful. So my last question is, if you were a refrigerator magnet on God or Universe, Tree, Bob, Cupcake, whatever you call your higher power, refrigerator, what would it say?
What would it say? Give thanks.
Beautiful. Well, I just thank you so much for taking the time to share with us today. I really enjoyed talking to you. Your email really touched me and it inspired me. My goal is always to be consciously transparent. And so it also reflected back to me how important that is when you're building a community and you're building a business. So thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer. Thanks for reading my email and inviting me on your show. It's great to be able to share this with you and your listeners today.
Beautiful. So if you like what you heard, you can connect with me and all the other experts in the Superpower Net at superpowerexperts.com/the net. Don't forget to remember and find your connection, and I will be chatting with you next time.
Are you ready to discover your superpowers? Go now to superpowerexperts.com and take the Superpower Quiz today.